Three, two, one. Welcome to the SaaS Pulse Show. My name is Michael Bertoni, and I'm the founder and CEO of SaaS Talent. And I am so excited right now. I always say I'm excited whenever we start a show, but we have a Philly founder, Philly tech startup founder, Adam Stokar. He had a company called Club OS, ran it for 12 plus years, exited to EverCommerce in 2017, had his exit, right? So if you're out there, connect with the guy. He's going to help you. Now he's founding another company. He's on company 2, Talent Llama, which is faster, smarter talent screening through conversational AI. It's great to have you on the show, Adam.
It's great to be here, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, super psyched. So he is a Philly tech founder, right? Through and through, right? So engineer, multi, going on his second company, still a young guy. I just turned 50. I mean, you're like in your mid 30s, right? I mean, you couldn't like
almost 40, almost
40 under 40. He's like under 40. He's got to get on the list. But let's get right into it here, Adam. Super excited to have you on the show. The first thing that I always like to talk about is the superhero backstory. So can you share your background and journey that got you to Talent Llama?
Sure, absolutely. So I am a Carnegie Mellon educated software engineer. So I started there, got my key skills in engineering at that school. And I've always been just attracted to software and building things. And it kind of just drew me in right when I first was exposed to it. So I went and got a job after CMU, and while I was working there, I had an idea to build this workout tracker application. It was on a kiosk. The idea was you would bring a kiosk into the gym and walk up to it and enter all your results in as you worked out. So you can see how relevant that is today. Not at all. Right. But it was my first exposure to building a company, and I had a partner who helped me set everything up, a good mentor. And eventually we got to the point where we realized the kiosk idea wasn't going to work, and we switched to the iPad app. Couldn't really sell it to anybody. We didn't get enough distribution to B2C sales. So we pivoted to more B2B, and we started selling to trainers and gym owners.
Love it.
And that was a huge pivot. We were definitely dead in the water if we didn't do that, but we realized we could sell the software to businesses. And then we realized they also needed other help outside of just workout tracking. They needed sales and marketing, and how do I do email blasts, and how am I managing potential members and making sure I don't let people fall through the cracks. That led us to more of a CRM and marketing automation tool. So we took a year and rebuilt the whole system. And when we came out of that, we started getting some legitimate revenue. So it was about 2012 now, 5 years after the original idea. So this was a side hustle for 5 years. Eventually, we hit our stride, and we grew to over 3,000 gyms in North America.
Amazing.
It took 10 years. You'll hear a lot of people say everyone wants the quick success, but this was a long slog. 10 years of traveling, hustling, hiring engineers, hiring salespeople, support staff. We ended up with about 50 people. And in 2017, we were, just over 6 million in annual revenue. And I had some personal things going on, needed to buy a house, and had my first kid. And my partner, who was also my brother, had some health issues kind of out of nowhere. So all that said, I kind of hit my max of dealing with all this stuff, and said, hey, let's see if we can go out and see if anyone would want to buy the company. So that process took about a year and a half, also very stressful, as I'm sure other founders have explained, going through a sales process. But we really the timing worked out perfectly in 2017, right? the markets were still really, really good. And we ended up selling to a company called EverCommerce, as you mentioned. So they were a private equity backed payments company. We also were getting into the payments world with member management, and it was a good match. The deal closed. Then I stayed there for about 2 more years, and we mutually parted ways. I was kind of ready for something else. They were merging our company, so
Nice.
yeah, that's Club OS. So that was a majority of my startup career from about 22 to 34. And then I left Club OS, had an exit, feeling great, took some time off as most people do. But then I really was getting like I needed to get back into it. Like after about 3 months off, I started like twitching, and I was like, I need to work. I need to get back into
Yeah.
something. I was also fortunate enough to be able to like take a deep dive into personal health
Mm.
and like sleep, exercise, nutrition, and just kind of looking at what's changed over the past 10 years. What should I be doing? How do I kind of get my routine into a better place? So I joined a bunch of Slack groups, and eventually I met this group of startup founders that were building a company called Omix. Um, and Omix was using machine learning to identify how sleep, nutrition, and exercise can impact your health and performance,
Mm.
and then gives you recommendations to optimize them. So
Yeah.
you'd wake up, you'd look at your Omix app, and it would tell you what to sleep, eat every day, and how much exercise you should do. Really cool idea. The team was awesome. We built a great app. Unfortunately, our burn rate was really high, and we raised over $1 million in angel funds, and about two years into it, we unfortunately didn't have enough product market fit to keep it going. So
Mm.
I'll touch on that later, but I think that the biggest problem was the high burn rate. If we had another year, I think it would have gone somewhere.
Right.
Also, the markets compared to 2017 when I sold Club OS, it was like you had to have significant revenue to raise money when we were going back out, and yeah, just didn't have the traction that investors were looking for. So unfortunately, we made the tough decision to shut that one down in March 2023. While I consider that a failure, the upside was I met one of the founders, whose name is Ben Chaikin, is my current co-founder of Talent Llama. So
Nice.
Ben is just one of those like, I'm a good software engineer. He's a 100x like master software
Oh,
engineer, easily one
nice.
of the like smartest people I've ever met, smartest engineer I've ever worked with. He likes to teach too. I think a lot of, as you probably know, dealing with engineers, a lot of them are kind of like, just let me do my thing, get out of my way.
Right.
Ben, he's taught me so much. I mean, I've learned more from him than I did at CMU about engineering. So he's that kind of a like both just genius and friendly, nice person, which is really hard to find. So um, we were talking, and he was looking for something else after Amic shut down, and he spoke to one of his former colleagues that had 10 job openings, and they got 15,000 applications. Um,
Yeah.
and he actually made a blog post about it, which I just shared on LinkedIn recently. But he literally couldn't interview more than 200 to 300 of them, and just said, "Sorry, everybody else. Like, there's just too much here. We can't give you a personalized review. Like, if you don't hear back from us, that's why."
Right.
And he told Ben, like, if I could, I just wish I could interview all these people somehow, but I don't have the resources. So Ben went back to his computer and literally built a prototype of Talent Llama, which we can explain what it is. But he built the prototype. He showed me. He said, "Hey, Adam, did you do it? Have you joined another company yet?" I said, "No. What's going on?" And he showed me the prototype, which was just like a command line. It was a command line interface. He uploaded a resume, and it started asking questions that took the experience from the resume into account. And I was like, these are better interview questions that I would get from like pretty much any company I've ever engaged with. And
Hmm.
he said, "Hey, do you think this has any legs?" And I was immediately like, "Yes, one, I love you, Ben. I would do work on anything with you." But I was like transported back to when I was doing hiring
Yeah.
and just wished I had something like this. So I said yes, and that was back in like September of last year, and we created a company. I took on kind of the admin of setting up the company, and then we're both doing engineering now, and that's kind of how Talent Llama. That's how I got to today, and it's been about 6 months since we started it.
Yeah. No, amazing journey. I mean, so everybody listening, right? So the superhero backstory started back when he was just working for another company as like, tinkering around, builds, finds out the thing for Club OS, pivots around, fixes Club OS, gets that right? Builds Club OS, sells Club OS. Now he's starting all over again. This is what a multi-exit founder looks like. So Adam's going to be getting his second exit. So obviously people should invest in this guy because he already had an exit, right? But that's probably another podcast, right? But so let's
Yep.
get into Talent Llama. So always like to give you great content that you could use. So give everybody the elevator pitch value proposition for Talent Llama.
Sure. Yeah. So Talent Llama enables faster, smarter talent screening for teams that have a high volume of applications for their
Hmm.
jobs.
Hmm.
So we go beyond a manual resume review, and give the decision makers a deeper understanding of the applicant's abilities in a small sliver of the time that it used to
Hmm.
take to do these things manually. So it's also very simple and powerful. So a lot of the AI companies that are starting, they have a really good idea, but it's hard to actually use it in practice. So the other part of what we've built is making it super easy to integrate this into your current hiring workflow and set it up in 5 minutes. So the key value propositions for us are, getting faster time to like the next stage. So
Hmm.
we talk about resume review and phone screening. That's usually the first two steps for most companies.
Totally.
We're
Totally.
taking those two manual steps and turning it into one automated step that actually gets done 10 times better than a person could do it.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
No, totally makes sense. I mean, what's cool about it too, for everybody listening, is obviously these guys are integrating AI, right? So I'm super curious. Let's dive one level deeper, Adam, because you're an engineer. So let's talk about the market and your differentiation. So I'm really curious about how this AI works, right? So am I essentially chatting with someone that is on the screen? Are they like, how does that all works? Because it's
Yeah.
obviously this is all new, right? All these products are being built now, and how is yours
Yeah.
differentiated?
Great question. Yeah, so we talked about like traditional screening methods, like the non-AI screening methods. It's pretty easy to explain how this is better, right? It's going to save you hundreds of hours because you're turning those two processes into one. It's fully automated, so you're starting from further down in the hiring funnel with richer information about all your candidates. If you had 100 candidates and you wanted to decide who should move on, you know, and you're going to manually review their resumes, call everyone. That's going to take way longer than using Talent Llama. So that's easy. But there are a lot of products now that say they do AI screening. So how are we different than them? Well, the first thing is we use it's a subset of generative AI called conversational AI.
Hmm. Nice.
So if you've used, or any of the listeners have used ChatGPT, usually you're the one leading the conversation, right? You're asking it something, it's responding. You're asking it something else. So we have built some pretty fancy technology to flip that around, where
Hmm.
the AI is leading the conversation
I
and
love it.
you're answering. So there are a lot of other tools that are still this one-way screening interview. So um, it doesn't actually understand what your responses are. So it'll just spit out a bunch of questions. It'll take your answer. It'll throw it into a database. And what we realized is there's a couple of problems with that. One, some people just are good BSers, right? And they can give a vague answer that sounds good on paper, but it doesn't actually demonstrate that they know anything.
Right.
The other part is the answers that people give. Sometimes people are shy when they're talking either to a real person, or if they have a timed, countdown to answer a question, they'll
Right.
rush an answer, or let's say something that that didn't actually demonstrate what they know,
Mhm.
which hurts the candidate, and it's not really fair. So what we do is it's ours is a text-based interview. So
Hmm.
it's done online. It's all text based, but you can answer with your voice. So
Hmm.
you read the question and then you answer with your voice. There's no time limit on our questions. But you only get one chance to answer. So it's a lower stress interview, which we've had tons of candidate feedback on this, and they
Yeah.
absolutely love it. So there are
Nice.
other products out there, where they monitor your facial features and they
Hmm.
look to see if you're looking at tabs. And there was actually a funny Reddit thread that the candidates just felt like they were being interrogated for a crime, and
Right.
it's a
Right.
uncomfortable interview. So that's like, I think the biggest differentiator is how we kind of deliver the interview in this low stress way. What the other part of it is the unbiasedness of these interviews. So
Hmm.
um, when we score the candidates' answers, we are only using the candidates' answers. We're not looking at, well, did this person go to an Ivy League school, or did they have experience at Google, or uh, you know, there's a lot of kind of subconscious bias that goes into these application reviews, and it's really
Right.
not fair for the candidates. And most companies don't want that. They want a truly meritocratic process. So I'd say that's the other big differentiator. So it's the candidate experience, the unbiased approach to our scoring, um, the use of conversational AI where it's two-way and it understands what the candidate's saying. And then the final thing I'd say is the ease of setup and use. So Ben and I are both experienced software engineers and UI developers, and
Hmm.
we have
Very
taken a
important.
lot of time into this. Has to be easy to use. It has to be a few clicks to set up. You have to be able to run interviews within the first 10 minutes of using it. So, we've integrated with applicant tracking systems like Greenhouse and Ashby, and soon Lever is coming as well. So all of that kind of operational stuff, is also built into our product.
Yeah, everybody listening to this right now, I mean, he mentioned so many things there, but right at the end, he mentioned, so Adam and his partner, I think, are full stack engineers, but they know the front end. Like if things aren't easy to use, so everybody listen to this. If your product is not easy to use and onboard, you're dead. You're dead, right? So it's got to be easy to use. It's got to be simple and solve a problem, which you're solving. But let's get in you just launched, right? You've been in business over 6 months. So
Mhm.
I know you're trying to get customers. So everybody listening to this, right? So let's talk about your ICP, your ideal client profile. Let's talk about
Yep.
that. And then we'll get into some of the issues you've dealt with your whole life. So what's your ICP look like?
Sure. So our ICP, it depends on the company size, but we're looking for recruiting managers, recruiting directors, head of talent, VP of talent, anyone who is involved in the technology decision making for
Mm,
hiring. So um, we start there. Then we look at, do you have a high applicant volume? So
mm,
sadly, if you have no job openings and you're not hiring, obviously not really a need for Talent Llama. And also if you are hiring but you just don't get a lot of applicants, you're not going to feel the impact of Talent Llama,
right.
because 10 applicants a week, you can get through those manually, and that's not a big deal, right? So we're talking in the hundreds or thousands of applications coming in every week. Now, in this job market, it's in this current economy, I should say, it's usually going to be either bigger companies that just are constantly hiring all the time, or
Yeah.
recently funded companies. So if you're a Series A, Series B, just raise money, you're adding 20, 30 people really quickly. This would be a great product for you. Anyone that needs to hire for big, like let's say a one-time big event, a concert or a festival or something where you're just you need to find a bunch of people really fast. The speed when hiring speed matters, or when the volume is just overwhelming and you can't actually get through it. Those are really the customers we're trying to find right now.
Yeah. I'm going to manifest for Adam a little bit here. So Facebook, Google, Amazon, right? Those are the biggest of the big. Imagine how many applicants these companies are getting, right? I mean, it's just insane. Those are the
Yep.
biggest of the big. And then obviously you have a company that just got an A round and they need to hire tons of people. But yeah, let's get Adam into Google, right? Let's can anyone out there help Adam get into Google, right? Just imagine how many
Sure.
people are applying to Google, right? I mean, it's an insane amount of people, right?
Oh
So
yeah,
let's get into a few other questions here. This has been a great interview.
yeah.
So, challenges. So, talk to the audience a little bit about what are the challenges you've dealt with in your career? What have been the top, two or three challenges? How did you overcome them? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. That's great. That's a great question. I mean, there's different challenges at different stages of the company. So every founder is going to be at a different stage and where they're, trying to, as they progress and grow. And I'd say the very first challenge for us was just, can we actually build this MVP, right? So Ben showed me a command line interface, but that's not something you can sell. So
Right.
we just like we wanted to make sure we were building something that people wanted. When you think about the MVP, two engineers, we can build whatever we want, right? We could make anything, but if people don't want the result, then it's going to be a big waste of time. So before we started building, we took time we chatted with as many HR experts as we could in
Love
our
it.
network. No, outside of our network, no one's going to care who we are,
Do
right?
your
At that
research.
early stage. So you have to do the research, and it's very, again, like you want to start building and just get stuff out there, but you have to make sure that you're building something that people want. So we did that, and it took us about 3 months to get the feedback what we needed enough, which to me was, enough people saying like, I would pay for this right now. And I think maybe it was
Nice.
like 5 or 10 legitimate, HR experts. Not all of them were our potential customers, but some of them had been in hiring for a while and just said like, this is amazing. You gotta move forward with it. So
Nice.
that I think is one of the challenges very early on. You just asked about ideal customer profile. So that also can really mess people up if
Mm-hmm.
like at first it was like, oh, we could just sell this to anyone who's hiring, right? And
Yeah.
the more we realized that when you're trying to sell the product to someone that didn't have a lot of job openings, it was just like crickets. And so we did have conversations with non-ideal customers, and then that helped us say, look, we don't want to we can't like just talk to any business because
Right.
not everyone's going to want this. And so that's you have to be humble and accept that if you think your target audience is X, it actually might be X divided by 4, but that's still big enough to start a company, right? So
Right.
um, I think a lot of times people want to they think, oh, I want to make an $100 million company and the market has to be this big, and like I'm going to go after that size of a market. But you can't let growth and like where you want to be get in the way of the current situation, which is like, who can I sell this to right now? So that was a challenge for me to kind of accept that we couldn't just sell this to any business. um, and then now that we're kind of off the ground, we have a product, and by the way, everyone can go and buy the product now. It's fully up and running and launched. So now we're charging people, and now we're shifting into this new customer acquisition problem where,
Right.
okay, we've gone through our network, we have some customers, people that Ben and I know, but how do we expand, and where do you even start with this? So we're actually figuring this out right now. This is a current problem we're dealing with, and it's a big challenge. And it's, do we just keep trying ourselves to do sales navigator and go on LinkedIn and just do kind of cold prospecting ourselves? Do we hire like an outbound sales consultant? Do we outsource, the outbound sales? And we need more demos. We need more conversations. That's what we're looking for. So we're not looking for
Yeah.
people to sell the product for us. It's just get us more at bats. And we do have a plan where by the end of June, we want to have like 5 enterprise customers. So
Mm.
yeah, this is the month where we're really going to start turning some of these things on. And my strategy is just to try things for as little money as possible so that
Yeah.
we don't waste too much, and then we can actually get a sense of like which of these different strategies are working, so that we can actually like, okay, if outbound sales consultants are working, like let's double down on that and like put more money into that
Yeah,
approach.
it's awesome. So Adam, it was awesome having you on the show. So, I mean, we probably could do a whole nother show because we didn't get through all the questions, but this was great. So Adam, thanks a lot for being on the show. Let's stick around for a minute here. We'll debrief. But again, everybody needs to reach out to Adam. If you're a tech startup, if you're a founder, if you're a tech company, reach out to Adam. He's the man to help you, give you advice. We didn't even say he does angel investment, he does advising, things like that. And yeah, let's help them. Let's help them get some customers. So Adam, it was awesome having you on the show and looking forward to following your journey.
All right, Mike, it was a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
All right.